Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
Miranda Priestly is back, but our bad boss is over, and a terrible tragedy in England. We're going to talk about it today on the Karel Show. Really? It is the Karel Show. I am Karel. How many of you hate it when your microphone ain't hanging in the right direction? All right. What a grand and glorious day we have here in Las Vegas on Thursday, April 30th. The weather is spectacular. It's showing off today. There's a lot going on in the world, and I wanted to have a lighter show today. So let's start with the heavy and get to the light. First of all, sorry for the delay, camera problems. YouTube.com/reallykarel is where you chat with me when I'm live. Otherwise, you leave comments down below, and patreon.com/reallykarel. We are going to schedule a Patreon Zoom call. We haven't done one in almost a year, which is my bad, and I'm sorry. We're going to get one going this weekend, probably. All right. So this morning, so we're in my morning, after I do my breakfast, I come into the TV room to do exercise with Apple Fitness Plus, my Apple Watch. My yoga instructors, Jessica or Molly, or what's his name? The Japanese, Dice. So those are my favorites, Molly and Janelle. They're all my favorites. Janelle, all of them. And I come in, and Ember plays with her ball, and I do yoga. And before I get to the yoga, I turn on the TV, and it automatically turns on to the BBC. So I get some of their afternoon headlines, because it's like 3 in the afternoon there at 7 a.m. my time. And their big headline right now is that yesterday, you may not have heard about this, there was a terrorist attack, what they're calling a terrorist attack, and it was against the Jewish community, and it was a stabbing, and it was absolutely terrible. And I don't know if people were killed. I will have to check. I know people were critically injured. Britain terror attack stabbing April 29, 2026. So yeah, 2 Jewish men were stabbed in London. Their UK calls for anti-Semitism, UK calls anti-Semitism an emergency. Okay, an emergency. And I was watching this morning, and now we should not stab people because they are of a different religion or a different faith or they're from a different country. All of us know that. I don't have to do a disclaimer to you guys because it would never even dawn on you to hurt someone that was different than you just because they were different. But as I was watching, and it started talking about anti-Semitism, I couldn't help but find myself saying out loud, well, the number one creator of anti-Semitism across the globe is a Jew. And that's Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu launched a genocidal war against the Palestinians. He got us to bomb Iran, which again, an enemy of Israel sort of thing. He is bombing Libya and Syria. He is waging war with anyone not Jewish in the Middle East. And the reputation and the favorite attitude, the positive attitude that many people had about Israel and about the Jews, including myself, that's gone. Now, anti-Semitism has always been about, just like homophobia, transphobia, all that. But there has been a rise. Why? Why are more people not liking the Jews right now? Could it be because for the last several years, they have been committing genocide? Could it be because they have gotten us into a war which is unending, cost us $30 billion already, and is solely for Netanyahu's benefit. We do not benefit from what's going on in Iran. The strait was open before we did this. Gas was $2.99 a gallon. So, no, I do not condone what happened in the UK. No, I do not condone anti-Semitism in the United States. But if we are going to be honest about why there is a rise in anti-Semitism over the last 3 years, it's because of the actions of the Israeli government. Just like there is a large anti-American sentiment in the world now because of Donald Trump. So Trump is turning people against Americans, and Netanyahu is turning people against Jews.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
Unfortunately, the world does not work in nuance. One of my favorite people on the planet, Rachel Capper, is Jewish. And she's one of my favorite people. And she's in the chat room and she said, please stop lumping the Jews in with Netanyahu. Well, see, Rachel, you and other Jews are asking for nuance. Just like we Americans don't want to be lumped in to the MAGA Donald Trump crowd, we can't help that. We can't help it. People now see Americans one way, not some Americans, all Americans. Because this man is acting on behalf of all America. When Donald Trump does something ridiculous in the world, he doesn't say, I am doing this just for myself and MAGA. He does it on behalf of all Americans. That's why it is up to us, those that oppose Donald Trump, to vote him and his party out, to send a majority during the midterms to Washington, D.C. that will impeach him and get him out of the Oval Office. It's incumbent upon us, those people who do not want to be associated in the world with his behavior, to stop his behavior, to get him out of office. The same applies for Israel. I know that hundreds of thousands of Israelis do not agree with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I always say the Israeli government. I don't say the Israeli people. But to the world deals in generalizations, not nuance and specifics. Particularly haters. Haters don't parse out their hate. They look for a reason to hate, and that's a blanket reason. Many people want to dislike America. And now Donald Trump and his actions have given them the ammunition they need to dislike all of us. Not some of us, all of us. Just as Netanyahu has given the world reason to be upset with the Jews. Now, I know that when you say with the Jews, you are grouping them together with people who do not agree with Benjamin Netanyahu. But that's not how it works. That's the danger. There were Germans that did not agree with Adolf Hitler, who today was found dead in a bunker. Today is the day the world learned that Adolf Hitler was found dead in a bunker. Today. Today we found his dead body, him having committed suicide. But the Germans have forever been painted by the brush of Adolf Hitler. And it has taken them almost 100 years to run away from that. Now, there were many, many, many Germans that did not agree with Adolf Hitler. There were many Germans that were not members of the Reich or the SS or any of that. But they got painted worldwide with the brush. Oh, you're German. You must be a Nazi. They weren't. The same with Israel. Right now, because of what Netanyahu has done, Jewish people everywhere are being blamed for his actions. Just like we, Americans, everywhere, are being blamed for Donald Trump's actions. It's not fair. Hatred is not fair. Okay, it's not. It's not fair that Jewish people who do not agree with genocide, who do not agree with what Netanyahu is doing, it's not fair that they are being painted with the same brush and that they are in danger because of what their leader or a leader of a country they don't even live in. Jews that live in London or America, they have nothing to do with Netanyahu. They don't even vote for him. And it's unfair that they are being tainted by his ridiculousness. Just like it's unfair that I and you are being tainted by Donald Trump's ridiculousness. But the world doesn't do nuance. It never has. And so it's not right. What I'm saying is it is not right. The rise of anti-Semitism is not right because most Jews do not agree with Benjamin Netanyahu. So it's not right to paint them with that brush. But extremists and haters and people who would go out and stab people or bomb people or shoot people, they don't do nuance. And that's the risk of having an out-of-control dictator as your leader. That's the risk in the U.S. of us having an out-of-control dictator in Donald Trump. And that's the risk of Russians under Vladimir Putin. And that's the risk of Jews under Netanyahu. When you have this crazed, out-of-control leader who is doing things against the world, it's going to spill over to you. You know, back in the days of AIDS, gays everywhere were unfairly and unjustly blamed for AIDS. We didn't invent the disease. We didn't spread the disease willy-nilly. We didn't ignore the disease. We certainly didn't deserve the disease. And yet, AIDS became a gay disease. Unfair, not true. And because of that, it didn't get funding. Gays got ridiculed, laughed at. Families were able to swoop in and exclude lovers. That's why gay marriage happened. It wasn't fair what happened to gay people with AIDS. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that I got blamed for the AIDS when I don't have it, didn't spread it, didn't cause it. And yet, as a gay person in the 80s and 90s, the minute you said that you were gay, it's never fair when that happens. And so as much as I love all people, no matter their religion, or in spite of their religion, and as much as I would never hold anything against a Jew anywhere for anything, I judge them as a person, not as a Jew or not as, I don't judge people that way. I don't look at people and say, oh, they're a Jew. I don't think of them that way. I don't. And Barbra Streisand's been the love of my life, and she's Jewish. And many Jewish artists have been the love of my life, and filmmakers and actors and actresses and neighbors and people and lawyers and agents and so many people in the entertainment industry that have been Jewish have been instrumental in my life. I have nothing wrong with the Jewish people at all. Yet, I can understand the rise in anti-Semitism because of what Netanyahu is doing. I don't condone it. I don't believe it's fair. I don't like it. But I understand it. And that's what I wanted the topic to be. Jewish people do not deserve to have anything bad happen to them because of what Netanyahu is doing. Just like Americans don't deserve to have anything bad happen to us based on what Donald Trump is doing. And many Germans did not deserve to have their homes blown up, their livelihoods taken away because of what Adolf Hitler was doing. But that's what happens when you have an out-of-control dictator in charge of your country. And so I don't know, going forward, how the Jewish people are going to repair this damage. Just like I don't know how Americans are going to repair the damage of Trump except by getting him out and showing other countries that that is not who we are. You know, that's not who we are. And Israel needs to elect a president that shows the world that Netanyahu is not who they are. Because what I know of the people in Israel, most of them, kind, caring, loving, accepting, just like everybody else, wanting to get along with their neighbors. There are many Jews in Israel that think there should be a two-state solution. There are many Jews in Israel that think what happened after October 11th was wrong. There are many Jews in Israel that love gay people. They believe a woman has a right to choose. They believe, they're very progressive. So the hatred that they're receiving right now is unfair. But it's unfair because of Netanyahu. Because they have this person that is the antithesis of what most of them think and feel representing them. Just like in America. Donald Trump is the antithesis of what a majority of Americans think and feel. He is the polar opposite of what more than 2/3 of the country thinks and feels. And yet, right now, it is all anybody thinks of us. It's not fair. And it's not right. And I wish I could change it. I wish I could change it for the Jews in Israel. I wish I could change it for the Jews in America, for the Jews in England. I wish I could change it for Americans in America, for Americans in Europe, for Americans in other countries. I can't. The only thing I can do is let these people know he doesn't speak for us. He's not my president. I did not vote for him, and I can't wait to legally remove him through impeachment, the 25th Amendment, whatever it might be. So that is one of the dangers of having a horrible leader, is that you get tainted with their stank. Netanyahu's stank is all over every Jewish person, unfortunately. Just like Donald Trump's stank is on every single American. And it's going to be hard to wash it off. We're going to have to. We're going to have to. And, it's hard to have a nuanced conversation about this. Because I never want anyone Jewish listening to me to think I have anything but the utmost love and respect for them. That I don't judge them by what Netanyahu does. I don't judge them by their faith. I judge them by, are they a good person? Are they nice? Are they kind? Are they nice to animals? Are they, do they take care of their parents? Do they, you know what I mean? I judge them by who they are. Because as a gay man, that's all we've ever asked for anybody to judge us by. Don't judge me because I'm gay. Judge me for who I am as a person. So I can understand how Jews feel right now. And how Americans, I get it. We don't want to be judged by Donald Trump and what he does, just like Jews don't want to be judged by Netanyahu and what he does. And many Iranians do not want to be judged by the Ayatollahs and what they do, because they don't want the Ayatollah. They don't believe in the Ayatollah. They don't want a theocracy. Many Iranians are not on the side of the Ayatollah. Many Iranians don't want war with the United States. They want to be friends with the United States. Many Iranians want to be friends with the United States. As we bomb them, as our president posts. See, I don't want to be judged by the image that Donald Trump posted the other day. I don't want to be judged as an American by this image right here. That is not my president. That is not how I want to be judged. I don't support that. I don't support that image. I don't support that message. But I will be judged by it. And I am judged by it. And that's the sad part. Just like as gay people, we are judged by the worst among us. We truly are. If a gay person does something obscene, obtuse, whatever, all of a sudden, all gay people are painted with that brush. I don't like that. It's not fair, but it happens. Look at black people. Black people have forever been vilified. Forever. And so white people, many, have a ridiculous fear of black people. Just a stupid fear of them. It's dumb. It's just stupid. And it's rooted in hundreds of years of oppression, not fact. More black men are not criminals than white men. Statistically, I will tell you that. And yet, every time we see a crime, we think it's a black person doing it. You know, there is a narrative out there that gets played up to, especially now with the algorithms. So anti-Semitism spreads because basically of the algorithm. And that's the truth. It feeds this hatred up to people who already hate. It feeds all the terrible things that Netanyahu is doing up to people who already condemn it. And it causes things like we saw yesterday in England, like we've seen here in the United States, like we see in Israel. And it needs to stop. We stop attacking people for things they had nothing to do with. Just stop. All right, so that's what I have to say about that. You know, we need to love each other. That's what we need to do. Love each other. Okay? We need to think of ways to help the Jewish people right now. We do. Because they're facing some horrible, horrible backlash from their government. Just like I hope people in other countries look at America and say, we need to think about ways we can help the Americans that do not like Donald Trump. We need to, be more accepting of these people and understand that not all Americans subscribe to that mad felon's philosophies. There's so much, James Comey has been indicted for a ridiculous post. I don't know if you all know the origins of the word 86, but basically there was a bar in New York. The front address was 35 something street. The back address was 86 some other street. 86 Bedford, I think it was. It had two doors, a front door and a back door. The front door's address was 35. The back door's address was 86. They paid the police to warn them when there were going to be raids during Prohibition. And so the police would call, and their code for getting your VIPs out of the bar before the raid was 86 them, meaning send them out the back door, 86. That was the address of the back door, was 86, whatever street, 86 Bedford Street. So the cop would call and tip them off and say, get your VIPs out 86. So 86 became known as getting out. Get out, banned, go away, get out, kick out, go, get out the back, So it became a bouncer's term for throwing someone out of a bar. Because back then, that's what they did. The police would call and say, we're going to raid your bar. So they would literally throw everyone out the back door. They'd 86 them, get out the back through the 86 Bedford Street address. That's where it came from. It does not mean kill. It does not mean murder. It does not mean anything except get out. Get out. That's what 86 means. Get out. That's what it means. Okay? Now, it has evolved to mean, banned, like you've been 86, you can't come back in, that sort of thing. But it really was about getting out. So, this thing against James Comey is not going to go anywhere. It truly isn't. But when I think about it, I think this is what they want to waste their time on. There are real criminals operating in the United States. They're called billionaires. The Epstein files, there have never been enough investigations into the Trump-Epstein files. Ever. There's just not been enough investigations. There's plenty of things the Justice Department could be doing right now. Indicting James Comey because the president wants him to, that's fascism. okay? And indicting him over seashells on the beach in a social media post isn't just fascism, it's downright abuse of power and malicious prosecution. So we're in this time where there's just not a lot of positive rhetoric. The President of the United States posts the most hateful rhetoric of any world leader. He's threatened genocide. He has rejoiced in the death of his enemies. He has inspired people to take on his enemies. He has literally started an insurrection. He is the most hateful man on the planet, and the rhetoric from his Truth Social post and his mouth is the most hateful rhetoric of almost any president in our history. He is hateful. And he inspires MAGA to be equally as hateful, to say horrible things about me or anybody they don't like. And they just say horrible, horrible things because their leader does. That's why anti-Semitism is growing. Because Trump has made it okay that if you hate something or you hate someone, prosecute them, hurt them, kill them, do whatever you want to do. Blow them into bits, blow them into the Stone Age. We need to change that. You know what? I support the Jewish community. I support the Jews in Israel. And if you don't, that's your problem. You know, but there's no reason to not. They've done nothing to you. Benjamin Netanyahu has, but the Jewish people have not. It's the same for gay people, bi people, trans people, women that want abortions. They've done nothing to you. You have no cause to disparage them, to hate on them, to legislate against them. They've done nothing to you. A trans person has never done anything to you at all. Period. Even if they used your bathroom. They've never done anything to you. We need to curb this hatred. You know, because we're not going to survive it. And it's ugly. It's just ugly. Anti-Semitism is ugly. Anti-gay rhetoric is ugly. Anti-trans rhetoric. Anti-women rhetoric is saying women shouldn't vote. If you're a woman and you don't want to vote, don't fucking vote. But don't say women shouldn't have the right to vote. That's ugly. If you're a woman and you get pregnant and you don't believe in abortion, don't fucking have an abortion. But don't say another woman can't have one. We need to turn the train around because the train is just headed towards hatred central. And that's not a great place to live. I have lived 63 years in the United States in a country that hates me for just being gay. It's not nice. It's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. And so in today's world, where anti-Semitism is rising to the level of homophobia, I'm on the side of the Jews. Hating on them because of their leader is ridiculous. But hating on anybody today, why? You know, hatred takes so much more energy than love and joy and peace. You know, it takes so much more muscles in your face to frown than it does to smile. It takes 2 muscles to smile. It takes 11 to frown. You know, we've got to turn this around. Well, none of us are getting any younger. We don't want to spend the rest of our lives in hatred and bigotry and division and arguing and yelling at each other. That's just, I'm over. It's done. Which brings us to our next topic. Because Miranda Priestly is back, baby. But is the era of the bad boss over? We're going to talk about that coming up. Don't go anywhere at all. Stay here. I'll have hot cocoa.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast, driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your time.
All right, we are back. And at least you can stand. Someone in my chat room said, I stand with Trump. I said, well, he can't even stand. So old and infirm. So Miranda Priestly, if you don't know who that is, you're not gay. You're not a woman. Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada. The show, the movie, 20 years old now or whatever, and it's got a sequel, and it's going to open big this weekend. I'm going to see it. By the way, another point of history, today was the day that Hitler died. We found him in the bunker dead. Today was also the day in 1997, 29 years ago, that Ellen DeGeneres aired her coming out episode on television. Today, tonight, it aired. And then tomorrow on the newsstands was the Time magazine cover that said, yes, I'm gay. And you would think that 29 years later, it would be so much better for gays and lesbians in television. It's not. It's not. It was for a while. It's not now. And I got a little sad about that on my Today in History. Because I thought, wow, 29 years ago, Ellen came out on her show with Laura Dern, the toaster oven. I have the episode almost committed to memory. But Laura Dern played a lesbian, and, you know, they talked about, do I get a toaster oven? It became a running gag amongst gays, especially lesbians. But it was groundbreaking, and everybody watched. I mean, it was such a high-rated show. Everybody watched. And she was at an airport terminal, and she grabbed the microphone. I'm gay. And that, you know, we all knew, by the way. If you watched the show, you knew. Her sitcom was great, but, I mean, we knew. Ari Gross was on her sitcom. He never really did go on to do much, but I loved him. But anyway, so that was 29 years ago today. The Ellen came out on national television, and it hasn't really gotten better. But there are those that say Ellen was a terrible boss, that she was just a terror to work for. Now, I've met her a few times. She was not overly pleasant. I met her before her fame. She used to do comedy clubs in Long Beach, and I actually performed on a couple dates that she was on. But she, you know, she wasn't the nicest person in the world. But, you know, I just counted that up as she's a lesbian. Sometimes lesbians and I get along, and sometimes we don't. But anyway, just like regular people. So Miranda Priestly, you know, is this terror boss, and so is Ellen. And it made me wonder, because I've had horrible bosses. How many of you have had a terrible boss? Like 8. I've had several. I mean, in the ranks of terrible bosses, I've got a top 5. I think the number 1 would be Dave Garofalo, former publisher of the Huntington Beach Local News, who went to jail because of his political wrongdoings. He was evil. Evil. He would yell and scream, and spittle would come out of his mouth. He would berate. He was horrible. I only worked for him because I needed the money. I was entertaining and doing triangle broadcasting and Different After Dark and just getting into radio. And Andrew and I needed the money. And it was $2,000 every issue, and he did 2 issues a month. And this is in the 90s. So it was only supposed to be 4 days of my time each issue. I ended up a lot more time. Till one day, Andrew made me decide. Dave Garofalo or him. Andrew said he's messing with your life. He's turning you into a mess. I don't like who you're becoming. You either give up him or you give up me. So I called Dave Garofalo to my house, and I handed him all of his graphic stuff and said I quit. Oh, he got mad. But he was a horrible boss. Bill LaPointe from the Orange County Blade was a nice man, but a terrible boss. Evil, really. But a nice man, but a terrible boss. E.J. Jackson Limousine, was horrible to me and to Vesta. Just horrible. Just a Just a terrible, terrible boss. Have you had a terrible boss? Have you? How did you get out of it? Did you quit? Did they get fired? I'd love for you to leave your comments down below and tell me about your terrible boss experience. Because now I look at this new generation, and given all of the HR
if you're not
stuff,
visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
okay, so we're talking terrible bosses. I will say there's a homophobe in my chat room, and I always wonder why they show up. None of my listeners will like you. You're not going to change any of our minds, and I'm a big dick-sucking queer. So what do you think you're going to accomplish here? Letting your ridiculous, small-minded attitude be known? Receive the condemnation of everybody else that's in there? See, that's just stupid to me. It's as stupid as anti-Semitism. Going into the chat room of an openly gay talk show host and writing things like Ellen DeGenerate, to me, it's like, are they really that stupid? Like, do they really, what possesses them to need to do that? What ignorance and hatred and self-loathing? The people that are the most homophobic are the ones that actually want to suck dick. So this guy that's in my chat room that's posting homophobic, Dax Shepard, I believe his name is, he obviously is a closeted queer, self-loathing and hateful. But I've always wondered about that. What do you think you're going to accomplish? The same with anti-Semitism. Do you really think you're going to weed Jews out of all of society? Did this person that went on the stabbing spree yesterday in London think that he was going to solve the Jewish problem of England as he sees it? There is no Jewish problem. But you know what I mean? What did he think he was going to accomplish? Nothing. He just hurt people. That's all he did. He accomplished nothing and made people more sympathetic towards the Jewish community. His hatred backfires. It always does. No one in my chat room is suddenly going to hate gays. In fact, they're just going to hate this guy. So what do these haters really think they're going to accomplish? What does MAGA really think they're going to accomplish? The world is turning against them. They are now the minority. Donald Trump's approval rating is in the 20s. No other president of recent history has had such low approval, including the Republicans. So what do they think they're going to accomplish? It's like bad bosses. What does a bad boss think they're going to accomplish? Do they think they're going to foster a positive working environment? Do they think they're going to get more things done by being an asshole? What do they really think they're going to accomplish by being a big asshole? Because it doesn't ever work. All you are is hated or feared. The best bosses in the world are the ones that are loved. If you love your boss, you will do anything. You'll do whatever is required at that job. You'll go above and beyond. Because I've had so many bosses that I've loved, that I just would have done anything for. And it's like when you're on a movie set. Directors can be one of two things. Nice, collaborative, all of that, or they can be complete assholes. And the ones that are complete assholes, they might make good movies, but the stars come away and never want to work with them again. So what do they accomplish? So what? You made a good movie. You made 150 people hate you. It's not worth it. So bad bosses, I look at now all the HR, there's all these HR things, requirements and all of that. And I wonder if a bad boss can even exist in today's world. Between Gen Y and Gen Z crying at the drop of a hat and objecting to everything, and HR and all these new rules since Harvey Weinstein, and all the new rules about what it is to be a boss. I just wonder if bad bosses still exist, if they're even around. Y'all can tell me I haven't had a boss in 30 years. Well, that's not true. David Hall was and remains my favorite boss that I ever had in my life, followed by Mickey Luckoff. Oh, strike my tongue. I meant Jack Swanson. Jack Swanson and David Hall were my best bosses, followed by Julie Chin. So my boss at KFI, my boss at KGO, and my boss at KNX. By the way, all three fired me. And they're still my favorite boss. Because in radio, you get fired. That's just what happens. When I first started in radio, Michael Jackson, the talk show host, came up to me and said, "You will be fired." Howard Stern said the same thing. I met Howard Stern because we were the big rage and everyone wanted to meet us, me and Andrew. So Howard came to the studio with Phil Hendry and he wanted to meet us. And he said, "Oh, you'll be fired. I've been fired 14 times. So, But David Hall, one of the best bosses ever. Patient, kind, understanding, and let me be me. When others at the station were complaining about me and complaining about the way that I behave in meetings or whatever, he was like, "Look, not everybody can do what Karel does. So we have to let Karel be Karel. He's not abusive. I wasn't abusive. I didn't berate people or anything like that. But I could be difficult because it was my name on the marquee. So I just kind of demanded that our producers, call screeners, that all of the employees of our show worked as hard as me and Andrew did. That's all I asked. If you did that, then we were great. We would buy you dinners. You could come to our house and party. We would take you on vacations. But if you didn't work as hard as we worked, I would have an issue." But my boss, David G. Hall, just an excellent person. Jack Swanson, excellent boss. Julie Chin, great boss. Now I've had a slew of bad ones. But do you think, have you ever had one? Have you ever had just a terrible boss that you just wanted to see an asteroid hit them? And how did you get out of that situation? You know what's so fabulous? When you have a terrible boss and you leave the situation and you do even better, and then you run into that person and they haven't done so well. That makes me joyous. Makes me joyous. Yep. So yeah, there we go. Have you ever had a terrible boss? Rachel, I had a horrible boss. Most days I had to work through my lunch hour. And when I got married, he insisted I come back that week on Friday instead of the following Monday. So I had to cut my honeymoon short. That's a terrible boss. I've had a lot of terrible bosses, said Sandy. The stories I could tell you are way too long for a chat room. Wow. Master Chief sent to work in the scullery for dying without permission. Okay, Colonel, that doesn't make any kind of sense, but I'm sure one day you'll explain. Let's see who else. Yeah, a lot of you have had See, I think that's something we all have in common. There's something that unites us. I want the whole show to be about what things that unite us now, not what divide us. You know what unites us with the Jews in Israel? We both have really shit leaders who are embarrassing us and causing us, just drama. We have a lot more in common with the Jews in Israel than you might think. We have a president that's waging an illegal war, just like Netanyahu is. We have a president that's ignoring the benefit of the people, the goodwill of the people, the care of the people, just like Netanyahu is. We have a lot in common with the people in Israel. They're our comrades in arms right now. So, and we've got terrible bosses. The president, in many ways, is the boss of our government. And right now, we have a terrible boss. So the Devil Wears Prada, and Miranda Priestly, I don't know that I would call her a terrible boss. How many of you think in The Devil Wears Prada that the Meryl Streep character was a terrible boss? Because, she's based on Anna Wintour. Now, Anna Wintour, I hear, is funny, engaging, gregarious, but you also hear these horror stories. I don't really think in the movie that Meryl Streep's character is a terrible person. I think she's focused. I think she doesn't suffer fools. Can she be too judgmental and overbearing? Absolutely. But I'm not sure overbearing makes you terrible. You know, I don't know how I feel about that. I can be overbearing. You know, so I think you're overbearing when you are invested. You know? And a lot of times a terrible boss is just a boss that has everything on the line. You know, if it's all their money and their reputation, they can get uppity. But I understand it because it's their baby. It's their child. It's, you know. But we've all had them. The real terrible bosses are the ones that they don't have any power at home. You know, so they come to work, and work is the one place they can wield their power, so they do. I mean, there really is a psychology to a terrible boss. They're usually they're like MAGA. You know, they're people that feel powerless elsewhere. And so they found a place they can feel powerful. A terrible boss is almost like a person on social media that comes into a gay guy's chat room and makes fun of his lisp. No one's making him listen. You know, no one's putting a gun to his head and saying, you got to listen to Karel. They're just people that they don't have any other power in their life. So the power they think they have is, oh, I can go and call somebody names. It's anonymous. They're not in my room. You know, if these people said this to my face, I'd punch them in their faces. But online, they're anonymous. So they feel they can exercise some power, some control. And that's what a terrible boss is. That's like what anti-gay people. Anti-gay people are just people that don't have power in their lives. They're not secure in their lives. If you're secure, you can't be anti-gay. Period. End of story. And if you're secure in your God, you can't be anti-gay. If you're secure in your sexuality, you can't be anti-gay. If you're secure in your life, you can't be anti-trans. Secure people do not take their insecurities out on other people. And that's what bad bosses are. They're masses of insecurity who take their insecurities out on other people. That's the only power they have. And subsequently, they think by making you feel like crap or exerting some control over you, they're a better person because of it. They're sick in the head, but that's their philosophy. It all stems from insecurity. Whenever anyone's terrible, they're just insecure. That's what they are. Whenever somebody derides someone for no reason, they haven't done anything to them, that's their insecurities that are manifesting. So terrible bosses are really terribly insecure people. They're not secure in their authority. If you have absolute authority at your company, you're not going to treat people poorly. You don't have to. You're the boss. You know, you're not threatened by anybody. Someone's behavior doesn't threaten you. The only people that are horrible assholes are insecure people. Whether they're terrible bosses, anti-Semites are just insecure people. They're people that are so insecure in their lifestyle and in their beliefs that they think they have to be horrible to somebody else to make sure that their beliefs maintain. They're just insecure. You know, secure people, they don't care. They don't care about other religions, about other sexualities. If you're a secure boss, you don't care about being mean to your employees. You don't have to. You know that you get more with sugar than you do with vinegar. I've never understood that about bosses. People will work to the death for you if you instill a belief in them and they feel that you're invested in them. You know, I'm watching The Boys. I'm on season 3. And it's horrible how easily the United States is parodied in this show, The Boys, with Homelander being Donald Trump, with Homelander's followers being MAGA, a resistance, which is the liberals. I mean, it's blatant. I mean, it's blatant. They're very blatant in The Boys. If you all aren't watching it, you should, because it really is a comment about our time. In season 2, there's a Nazi. In season 3, she's dead. But still, Homelander is now seeking absolute power, like over the entire planet, because he could destroy the entire planet. And so there's no one to stop him. And they're showing how absolute power corrupts absolutely. But it's amazing to me how it's paralleling what's going on in the world and in American culture. And Homelander is the most insecure person on the planet. He is so insecure. And so is Donald Trump.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
So what I was saying about that is, on The Boys, there's an opposition group that want to take out Homelander. And the leader of them is Keith Urban. He plays a character called Butcher. Butcher is a horrible boss. He is an asshole. He is just a terrible boss. And his group is splintering. They don't want to follow him anymore because he's turned into this horrible boss. And what it illustrates is, if you are invested in someone, if you make that person feel like you care about them and their life and their outcome, they will risk their life for you. They will work to the bone for you. But if you're an asshole to people, all they'll do is resent you and give you the least amount that they can give. That's why when you work with me on any set, in any studio, anywhere, I fawn over you. I am not above going to, when Jeannie Tracy sings for me, oh my God, and the same with Thea, or anybody. I go out of my way to make sure they know how grateful I am. And I constantly do things for them. They'll call me and say, can you do this? And I'm immediately, yes, of course. I deliver for them. And guess what? They deliver for me. You can't just take. Bad bosses, that's all they do. They take. And they give nothing back. That's all Trump does. Take. Gives nothing back. You can't, people don't respond to that. They respond negatively to that. When Barack Obama was president, I was proud to be an American. And at that point, I would have defended our country from any invader or anything. I was very proud to be an American under Barack Obama. And every time I see him speak still, I am so filled with just like I would do anything for this guy. He's smart. He's funny. He's so intelligent. He's so well-versed. He's such a diplomat. Now look, in private, I don't know his life. But I will tell you, as a president or a civic leader, I would, I got on the Obama train from a speech he gave. That I was so impressed with the speech and what he addressed and how he addressed it. I thought, this guy gets it. He gets it. And I suddenly would have done anything for him. I would have. And I did. I campaigned for him. I had parties for him. I got more involved in Obama's campaign than any other president. I went out and knocked on doors. I called people on my radio show. I wanted him to be president. And I would have done anything for him. Because I believed in him. And I felt in many ways that he was invested in me. That he understood what it was like to be me in America. And that he really did want to better my lot in life. I truly believed that. And subsequently, he had my allegiance. I didn't feel that way about Joe Biden. I like Joe Biden. I thought he was a fine president and a nice man and all that. I wouldn't have done anything for him. And I wasn't overly proud to be an American with him as president. Obama, yes. So when you see a movie like The Devil Wears Prada, and you see this horrible boss, you have to wonder, are these people aware that if they just changed course a little bit, they could get so much more from their employees? You know? I like a boss that is not afraid to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. You know? And that's the kind of boss I am. When you work on a project with me, whether it's a movie or the Dorian Awards or whatever, I'm working. And I'll do any of the jobs that need to be done. And you need a press release written, I'll write it. You need something filmed, we'll get the cameras together. You know, you need a song, we'll write it, we'll produce it, we'll get it in there. I'll do whatever it takes. And I always hope that that passion wears off on others so they're inspired to do whatever it takes too. That's what we're missing in this country now, inspiration. There's no inspiration in this country. You know, Obama inspired us. Clinton inspired us. He was a good orator. He inspired us. There are many people that inspire us. Trump is not one of them. He doesn't inspire Americans to be better. He in fact, he actually inspires the worst among us to be the worst they can be. He does not inspire kindness. He does not inspire patriotism, true patriotism. He's not inspirational as a leader. And that's what a boss is, a leader. Miranda Priestly in The Devil Wears Prada, she's not overly inspirational to her employees because she thinks that they've got more to gain by being there. So they're lucky to be on her staff. No, she's lucky to lead them. And that's what we need to turn around in this country. You know, America isn't lucky that you and I live here. We're lucky that we live here. Maybe not right now, but as a whole, you know, we're lucky that we live in a civilized, well, again, not of late, but up until Trump, we were lucky that we lived in a civilized, progressive country that seemed like it was invested in our well-being. It doesn't seem that way now, but it certainly did. All right. Yeah, Obama did bring out the best of us. I agree, Sandy, in the chat room. Yep. Obama brought out the best in us. Trump brings out the worst. That's the truth. That is the... Obama spoke to our better selves, our better angels. Trump speaks to the lowest common denominator. And that's sad. That they've made that their stock in trade, appealing to the lowest of the low. And it's successful for them. The lowest of the low were waiting for someone to come along and appeal. Just like in Germany. The lowest of the low, the Nazis, were waiting for someone to appeal to them. And they finally found the guy, Adolf Hitler. A short, weird mustached little guy who killed himself today. Today, he was found dead in his bunker. But he spoke to the lowest of the low, the haters, the racists, the misogynists, the white supremacists. He spoke to the lowest. Well, Trump, we know, read Mein Kampf, and he speaks to the lowest of the low in America. The anti-gay, anti-trans, the people that think drag queens in some way hurt their children.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast.
Okay, enough of all the show closing. I didn't get to say, I am Karel, be who you want to be, so it doesn't hurt anybody. I didn't get to say how much I love and appreciate you for being here all week with me, how you need to like and subscribe on the video down below. So please do that. Leave your comments down below so the algorithm will find us. It is my Friday today. However, I believe I am speaking to Scott over in the Ukraine. So if I am, then tomorrow there will be a This Gay Week where we talk about stories of international importance from the LGBTQ community. So hopefully that'll be there tomorrow, Friday at 10 a.m. Look for that. And then, of course, I'll be back on Monday. I love you very, very, very much. And I hope today we have learned that we can change our mindset, okay? We can change to where the negative is not what we see every day and what we hear every day and what defines us. That there is a choice out there. You can choose to be anti-Semitic. You can. Just because of what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. Or you can say that, those people are just under a bad leader, but they're not bad people. You can choose hatred. In fact, hatred is a choice. It is not a normal state of being. Unless you're someone like MAGA. For MAGA, hatred has become their only way of being. Their one note. They hate liberals. They hate this. They hate that. They hate gays. They hate trans. They hate, they hate Hillary Clinton. They hate Bill Clinton. They hate James Comey. All they do is hate. And they get that from their guy, their boss. But that's on them. If they want to live a life of hatred, go ahead. They're the minority. We don't have to buy into their hatred. And yes, we can meet their hatred with force, but the force of good. The force of your hatred has no power here. Because here we concentrate on good. Here in this country, we concentrate on the potential of people, not ways to hold them back. And so while they, MAGA, while they have their hatred, while anti-Semites have their hatred and anti-gays have their hatred and anti-abortion people have their hatred, it's really all they have. And it's more sad than anything else. And it's not the Jewish people's fault. It's Netanyahu's fault. It's not our fault the world now hates us. It's Donald Trump's fault. So what do? We show the world that we're not a bunch of haters. That MAGA is a bunch of haters, but we're not. And that they're the minority. We show the world that you can get more by empowering people than tearing them down. And you can be strong when you do that, punishing those that are evil. Yes, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Peter Hegseth need to go to jail. Absolutely. That's not unkindness. That's not being mean. That's punishing criminals. No, they shouldn't be assassinated. No, they shouldn't be shot at. No, they shouldn't be killed. They should be tried under the law and sent to jail. That's not being negative. That's just following the law. So have fun this weekend. Go see The Devil Wears Prada 2. It'll be a rollicking good time. I'm sure it will be. I'm going to go this afternoon. It'll be a rollicking good time. So go see it. I'll either see you tomorrow with This Gay Week with Scott Jacobson, or I'll see you on Monday. But either way, much love. Ember is asleep right here next to me. She's back on solid food. Today is day 8. She's eating, she's pooping, she's peeing. So those are all good things. In fact, she's peeing too much. Twice in the last week, she has been in such a deep sleep, she just peed. And before we jump and put her on medicine, I'm going to let her get at least 2 weeks out of the surgery, because maybe that just causes her to sleep a little deeper, and it's happening. We'll see. There is a fix, medication, but before we put her on it, we'll see. So love your dog, love your cat, love your gerbil or your hamster or your chicken or whatever you got. Love your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your mother or your father. Have a fun weekend, and come back on Monday. And let's all of us remember, hate's a choice. It's a choice. You don't have to make it. You don't have to hate people just because they're different, because they're Jewish or because they're Catholic, or because, I hate the Catholic Church. I hate it. I truly hate the Catholic Church. I hate it. I hate that they let priests molest children. I hate their doctrines. I hate everything about the Catholic Church. I do not hate Catholics. My mother was one. I don't hate Catholics. I hate the church. There's a difference. There's a big difference. So we will focus more on the positive. And remember, I am Karel. Be who you want to be, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody. We'll see you on, either tomorrow at 10 or Monday.